Right, okay, so thank you all for being here, and thank you, Sue, for the introduction. My name is Irina. I'm a research manager at Mustard Research. We're a market research agency based in Manchester in the UK. During this presentation, I want to tell you about one of the most fascinating projects I have worked on so far. And I want to do this by taking you on a journey of our own two selves. They're simple yet complex. They're in harmony yet always fighting. But if addressed correctly and listened to, they can create long-lasting changes within us. So let's go on this journey together and shed some light on them. First, let's go back to the beginning. As a student, I used to love philosophy. It just seemed to provide all the right answers to all the complicated questions of our existence. If there's one thing that I learned, and something that had been repeated constantly during my studies, is that we are rational beings. But that has changed recently. And that's all thanks to Daniel Kahneman, the founding, or Professor Kahneman, I never know how to pronounce the name correctly. I apologize for that. He's the founding father of behavioral economics, who revealed that we're not always those rational beings we've been told we were. In fact, most of the times we're not. We make the majority of our decisions irrationally and effortlessly because we have a limited amount of rational energy. What he essentially did was differentiate between system 1, or our fast and emotional self, and system 2, or our slow and rational self. And he showed how each of these two selves live within us. Now, the emotional self, or system 1 thinking, is responsible for the majority of the decisions that we make. Those effortless, automatic, habitual decisions that we have to make to function as human beings. It's also known as fast thinking. The rational self, or system 2 thinking, is the one responsible for those harder, more difficult mental activities and requires choice and concentration. It's also known as slow thinking. Now, there are different ways in which researchers can use behavioral economics, from design all the way to analysis. Use the right research design, and they will open up and generate incredible amounts of data. Following these two selves in the data and writing the story of their journeys can also lead to some very powerful revelations in human behavior. So now I'd like to show you how we engaged with and listened to these two selves on their journeys to quit smoking, and why this was so eye-opening for me. So in 2017, Mustard had been commissioned by the Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership to conduct research on smokers in Greater Manchester. Specifically, our objective was to provide actionable insights to help them plan and inform future strategy as they strive to reduce adult smoking by 1/3 over the next 4 years. Now, to meet this objective, we designed a multi-stage approach. We started with a series of telephone depth interviews with current and ex-smokers to really test the waters and understand more about their journeys. We then used all the insight collected through these depth interviews to inform the design of a 4 weeks online community, which was our main method of data collection. To add to this, we also conducted 3 focus groups with young people at 3 youth centers across Greater Manchester to really make sure that we captured the specifics of teens when it comes to smoking and quit smoking behaviors. Now, part of the success of this project was really using the right methods, and the online community proved to be the most useful because it provided the right platform for the emotional and the rational selves to express freely. This method allowed participants to respond to questions in their own time, from the comfort of their own home, or from whenever they felt like it. They didn't have to travel anywhere. We went to them rather than the other way around, which enabled us to reach a much wider audience. For those of you who are not aware, this here is a map of Greater Manchester and its 10 boroughs. For some people living in the outer boroughs, it can be quite complicated to come to a focus group in Manchester city centre, while conducting groups in each borough would have had massive cost implications. So this allowed us to keep things cost effective as well. We also tested, reviewed, and co-created different stimulus materials, from campaign posters to video ads, and participants kept online diaries. They shared with us photos, videos, or other visuals that have made an impact on them. This method also allowed us to adapt on the move. The community ran for 4 weeks, so by week 4, what we had planned initially had to be changed because of the way the insight was generated. And this isn't really something that you can do within the confines of a focus group. Beyond this, we ended up spending much more time with each participant. If you think of it, in a focus group that normally lasts for 90 minutes, maybe 120 tops, you spend that time with a group of 8 to 10 people. But in an online community like this one, we ended up having more than 2 hours consultation time with each person across the 4 weeks. And with a topic like smoking, where we talked about people's journeys of quitting, of relapsing, as well as the more complex psychological and social context that each person navigated in, we then managed to build trust with our participants and got them to open up and ultimately create an environment that was really transformative for them. Just to give you an idea of this, these are some of the messages we started receiving from some of the participants, telling us how the discussions themselves were triggering changes within them, or how they found the environment supportive.